Welcome to the Fantasy Draft Room. I am Chase, and with me, as always, my man Cody. What do we have in store today?
We got a really nice rookie mock we did over with the Destination Devi team. Patreon/all gas ran a sleeper rookie mock. The rookies are in. We did one of these last week. It went well, so we figured we'd do one again. They're running those mocks all the time over there, so we jumped in one. Wanted to break another one down for y'all.
Love it. Super exciting stuff here. We're going to jump right into our 4-round rookie mock draft and see what we have in store. As always, it seems like it's pretty much chalk at the top there with Bijan Robinson going off the board at the 101. For a lot of our community, then it follows with 4 running backs, right?
4 quarterbacks.
Or 4 quarterbacks, excuse me. The order kind of toss up, draft pick depending. How do you feel about the first 5 picks here? Anything really all that interesting?
I think where we got the interesting, especially if you try to look at, what we're doing here compared to a lot of other communities, is the Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. We've got those 2 guys up above where I was at in the 5 slot here. Last quarterback off the board, Bryce Young. Again, I think we've said it before. Bryce Young would be my first quarterback off the board. If I was to be at the 102, he'd be my pick there. So I was really excited to see him still on the board here at the 105. But the order in which they go, I think I've seen one of our mocks that didn't have Bijan at the 1. Somebody just wanted to change some stuff up. I think we had CJ Stroud up there at the 1. But otherwise, no, this is typically how it goes. You might see some Jahmyr Gibbs, some JSN mixed in between the quarterbacks, but that's what we have typically at the top of the board.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff here. And again, we'll dive into some of these prospects as we go on. Quarterback landscape really is going to depend on draft capital. I think from everything we're hearing, those 4 guys are first round NFL picks, and if that's the case, these 4 guys should be pretty much right here, the 2 through 5. And if you don't feel confident, maybe you can squeeze in Gibbs, but still, these guys are going in the top half of your rookie mock draft or rookie drafts if they get draft capital. I'm going to keep saying that, if they get draft capital. But
if they get draft capital, like you say in there, we've seen some mocks coming out recently. I've seen some mocks come out with Anthony Richardson going in the middle of the 2nd. If that starts to happen, then we won't see this. This is not going to be the board. We're working under the presumption of that first round draft capital here. You start seeing that. You start seeing a Will Levis, even though I've seen him pretty much securely inside the top 10.
Yeah.
But some of these guys will start to slip, and you'll see some position players over them.
Yeah, let those biases go. I don't care what you feel about how I feel about any of these players or any of these quarterbacks. If they get that first round draft capital, I'm all in. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now. How do you feel about the wide receivers? JSN, Addison, and then at the 11 slot there, we have QJ, Quentin Johnston out of TCU. We've seen kind of things bounce up and down with JSN. Are you comfortable with him being the first wide receiver off the board?
At this point, don't have any problem with JSN coming off the board. We saw what he put up in that 2021 season, working, outperforming the Chris Olave and Garrett Wilsons that we now have as top 15 dynasty wide receivers in the league. Obviously, we didn't see that this past year at Ohio State. Dealt with some injuries, might have just been, we've heard reports saying that he was, being almost held out. He was trying to come back in, but the team just wouldn't let him for his own good, which is probably better for his long-term NFL run. But it's undeniable what he put on the field. I wouldn't have any problem if you have either him or Addison at the first wide receiver off the board. Quentin Johnston's the one that I have a little bit behind, but I know we've done most of our work so far on the running backs. We'll be getting into a little bit more depth on the wide receivers here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and I feel like it's pretty fitting right here. JSN and Addison are the 2 truly proven talents in this class. JSN put up 1,600 yards with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the field, and we've talked about that before. Jordan Addison, the Blitnikoff winner when he was with Pitt before transferring to USC, did have some injuries here and there at USC, but talent is undeniable. Both of those guys seem very proven with who they are, what kind of talents they have. Quentin Johnston, I have TCU wide receiver bias for people, definitely causes hesitations. And then he has the, he just disappears sometimes, man. And despite the fact that he can put up 200 yards in a game, some of those are blown coverages. The disappearing act for a top tier wide receivers is kind of scary. Could be scheme. You can say that they run the ball a lot. I don't know. He's more of a question mark for me, so I'm definitely good with him being there at the back of the draft of this first round. But I do want you to talk about your guy, Zach Charbonnet. I took him at the running back 3 slot here at the 109. How much do you love Zach Charbonnet?
I don't think words can really put into expression how much I've fallen in love with Zach Charbonnet here over the past week or two. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's a bowling ball with athletic feet attached, man. He is he's a guy that he looks like he could be a true workhorse back in the league. I think we probably only get one out of this class, and I think that's Bijan Robinson. I think he is the one that if you spend your first round draft capital on him, he's probably going to be a 3-down back, or at least getting 65% plus of the snaps in the backfield for whatever team he's on. I think there's only one other guy that can do that. Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't think, is a good enough rusher between the tackles. We'll see if he develops into that at the next level. He's got some size concerns that some people have as well. Absolutely fantastic out of the receiving game, but I want a guy who has the potential to be on the field for all 3 snaps. And the only other one that I see that has that potential right now is Zach Charbonnet. I've been seeing a lot of mocks where he's going in the middle of the second. Sometimes he's the second running back off the board, and I'm like, oh boy, this is exactly what we want. I've seen him in Miami, and oh god, you give me that landing spot with a decent enough draft capital, I'm going to be all in on Zach Charbonnet. Absolutely, it's going to be. We'll see if anything can slow my expectations of what I see from him. The only thing I think that could do it is his combine. If he goes out there, underperforms in speed and agility scores, that's my one hesitation with Zach Charbonnet right now. Otherwise, I'm fully gassed up.
Yeah, and I'm with you. We're going to do an episode on our top 5 running backs at this point in the process. So in January, pre-combine, top 5, we will be doing that. But I will say Zach Charbonnet, he's the only running back in the NCAA this year that was in top 5 in both PFF grades, rushing grade as being a pure rusher, and also receiving grade for running backs. So he's the only one. Has to be good things for him, as far as being a 3-down back. And when you really turn on that film, you see a lot of really good things. But yeah, Ray constantly says, if you are someone who likes Javonte Williams, you're going to love Zach Charbonnet. So high praise. Ray knows his stuff more than anybody in this industry. I trust him more than anyone. And he's had nothing but good things to say about Charbonnet as well. So rounding things out here, we talked about a little about Quentin Johnston, Devon Achane at the 10 spot, and then Sean Tucker cracking that into the first round. I like Devon Achane. I know you got the Aggie flag right behind you. Obviously, he has the potential to break any game open. Sean Tucker, similar. Both of them were just in different schools. How do you feel about these two and Sean Tucker being in the first round?
Sean Tucker in the first, I truthfully don't have a problem with it. The only thing that we're not seeing so far is the draft capital come out with a lot of the NFL mocks. We've been seeing him go rounds 4, rounds 5, and if that happens, then I don't think he can sneak up into this first. That's the one area of concern. I've got a couple more games to round out my running backs and a couple more games to watch of Sean Tucker, but I've liked the things that I've seen. His quarterback stinks, so there's almost no way you can even evaluate him in the receiving game. I don't think he's that bad. And then he's a pure speed runner, not as much as a pure speed runner though as Devon Achane, true track athlete. And we've seen the shift in the NFL that have gone from the true traditional ground and pound running backs to let's get playmakers the ball with speed, get the ball in their hands and see what they can do. That's Devon Achane to a T. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's just grounding it up between the tackles time after time, but he's still good enough to do that. That was the role that he had at A&M and behind a bad offensive line. You get him in a good spot in the NFL and he will break games open with his speed.
I mean, Devon Achane had a game this year where he had 38 touches, I believe, 38 rushes.
Yeah, 36, 38 rushes, somewhere around there against LSU.
My goodness. And so, he's proven he can do it against SEC competition. Again, you don't want him doing this consistently, but he has the ability to run in between the tackles. And I feel like in best ball leagues, I will fucking eat me up some Devon Achane. Just game-breaking speed, the ability to score a touchdown on any play that he gets the ball in space. super excited for him. Obviously the big concern is his weight. He runs track at 160. It seems like he actually plays around 180 to 185. We'll see what he weighs in at the combine. That is going to be a big thing for NFL teams and for his durability. No doubt about it. He has the skill, but one of the best abilities is availability. And so his availability will be tested in the NFL if he's under 200 pounds. It's just kind of the nature of the beast at that running back position.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think there's anything more to touch on really here with this first round. Let's jump into our second round where we see the tight end 1 coming off the board. Michael Mayer at the 2-1, followed up by Kayshon Boutte, Kendre Miller, Josh Downs, Zach Evans. Let's talk to me about Michael Mayer a little bit, being the first tight end off the board and the only tight end off the board in the entire second round.
A lot of times we talk about production in college. It kind of doesn't matter with the tight end position. However, receiving metrics, like putting him as a receiver, like he led his team in receiving yards, I believe, for 2 out of the 3 years that he was there. His dominator rating is up there in the 34, 35 percentile, which is among the elite wide receivers. Like, he's an incredible tight end. And if you're in tight end premium leagues, 1.75, 2.0, you have to take Michael Mayer in the first round. He's going to be a first round NFL draft pick. And that's because he's going to be on the field. He can block, he can run. He's like, what, 265?
265.
Yeah, 6'4", 265. Like, the dude is a beast. We'll see what kind of offense, like those types of things are going to matter. What offensive scheme he is in, how do they like to use tight ends? So those things are going to matter when he does get drafted. But there's no question in my mind, it is tight end 1, Michael Mayer, and then everybody else. Like, there's a large gap between him and we'll get into a couple of the other guys later. But yeah, man, Michael Mayer, if you get him in the second round in any tight end premium, I feel really good about that pick.
Yeah, and the place that we've seen him mocked a lot here has been to Green Bay in the first round. Like, I don't even care if Aaron Rodgers isn't back. I don't care if it's Jordan Love. That's a perfect landing spot for him to be the over the middle guy in that offense, be an inline blocker as well. I mean, he'd be on the field for almost 90+% of snaps as soon as he starts week 1, I think. So yeah, Michael Mayer, any premium, I think he's in the first, and even without premium, I think he has to be in the top half of the second round for me.
Yep, I'm with you right there. Then we had you mentioned Kayshon Boutte, Kendre Miller, Josh Downs. Let's just touch on the wide receivers real quick here. Kayshon Boutte was a first round draft pick in most people's eyes. Lots of questions this year. How do you feel? Like, how comfortable are you if you're in that top half of the second round? How comfortable are you taking Kayshon Boutte?
Not at all. There's about 4 other guys here that I'd have a lot more comfortability in taking, even at this point, without knowing the draft capital. I'd probably take the next 4 wide receivers before I take Kayshon Boutte right now. There's some off the field issues. There's some character concerns even on the field, dogging a lot of this year. He put up a really good season in 2021, but unlike JSN, who didn't really play, Kayshon Boutte was actually on the field and playing and didn't have a lot of production. So it's going to come across negatively. Obviously, there's some off the field concerns as well. So Kayshon, we'll see. Maybe an NFL team buys into him, and then I might be back in. But for now, yeah, I'm fading Boutte. I'd rather have the guys that we see after him: Joshua Downs, Jalen Hyatt, and Zay Flowers, and Rashee Rice. All of those guys seem to be getting a lot more NFL buzz right now. Downs is definitely one that I'd have over him. I think once I go back and watch, I think there's probably going to be a bit of me that wants to have Downs over Quentin Johnston.
Yeah. Josh Downs is, I don't think it's even questioned. He's going to be the fastest wide receiver in this class, and that's with a 160-pound Zay Flowers, who is a burner. Like, there's some fast dudes, but Josh Downs will run 4.3, and we'll see what happens with his other testing metrics. But he had 1,000-yard receiving season there with Drake May. He's looked really good back-to-back years with Sam Howell and Drake May. I'm with you. I like him a lot. Kendre Miller, I mean, you call him Zach Charbonnet light, and yep. I can't argue that at all. Incredible contact balance. Would absolutely love him. The big question for me here, like, I don't have any real issues. Like, I'd take Boutte top half of the second, I guess, if I had to. But Zach Evans here at the 2.5, I know people love Zach Evans. we've both watched his film. He just seems like he's a guy.
Got outplayed by Judkins in his junior year. He transferred out because Kendre Miller was going to play over him at TCU.
Yep.
I mean, watching his tape, nothing really stands out. Statistically wise, nothing really stands out. I mean, I don't know what it is. I truthfully, I can't see Evans almost in the second round. I think he's a third round rookie startup guy for what we know right now. If he gets the draft capital, I might have to change tunes and, eat the words a little bit. But as of right now, I can't stomach putting Zach Evans even in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, back half of the second here, like just touching on this, we had, Jalen Hyatt, as you mentioned, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, Tank Bigsby, Marvin Mims, Roshan Johnson, and then Izzy Abakan,
Abanikanda.
Abanikanda. Man, I need to figure that one out. I always fumble that one. Unlike Izzy, he doesn't fumble at all. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Zach Evans belongs in that back group behind Tank, behind Roshan. Yeah, so I guess in a way, I'm not quite sure how I feel about Zach Evans there, but Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, love both of them. I think weight concerns with Zay, Rashee Rice, draft capital, want to see what he does, but he's super talented. Anything you want to touch on with these mid-range wide receivers here?
No, I think a lot of these guys are just projected draft capital, right? The Jalen Hyatts, the Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, they're not the big name guys. They're not the SEC blue bloods. Hyatt came on in his senior year for Tennessee and outperformed Cedric Tillman, who we don't even see on the board here, which is who we kind of thought coming into the season was going to be the guy, but he got nicked up, got injured, and Jalen Hyatt stepped up and produced crazily for that offense. So all of these guys, the NFL has showed that they love these rookie wide receivers right now because the wide receiver market is so expensive right now, and we don't have a good free agent class. I could see all three of these guys being first-round draft picks, and if that happens, it's going to be kind of pick your guy at that point. The guy that I have right now would probably be Rashee Rice. Jalen Hyatt's profile just typically isn't one that I normally like. That the yards per reception is great, but whenever you're just streaking down the field wide open behind college cornerbacks, like that's not going to happen repeatedly at the next level. So Rashee Rice is probably the one. Zay Flowers as well. Actually, kind of Rashee Rice does a little bit of the same thing as Hyatt, but Zay Flowers is probably going to be my one out of those guys. Marvin Mims being the last receiver in this round, he's just kind of one of those guys who's just a guy, like he kind of said. There's nothing that's truly standouting about his production this year coming out of Oklahoma. I think he could be a solid wide receiver too. So I don't have any problem here in the back of the second round.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then we see the running backs here. I'll pull up the third round as I kind of touch on the running backs here at the end of the third. Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, and Izzy. I don't know. Tank. This range of running back, like they're all kind of grouped together as you kind of see Tajay Spears, Kenny McIntosh, Chase Brown coming off the board. I like Chase Brown. The fact that Chase Brown went at the 3-3 or the 3-4 is a steal in my opinion. I might take him over all of these other guys in this range as well. So, but it's kind of pick your poison. You're like, who do you like? What do you look for in draft profiles? And that's kind of how you're going to have to determine this range of running back and throw Zach Evans in this cluster as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, it's just at this point, we can have our processes, we can have our statistical analysis, we can have our film grades, everything like that. At the end of the day, everything's probably going to get flipped on its head once we have draft capital and we have landing spots, right? Because a lot of these guys do profile the same. I'm with you at this group. I'd actually have Chase Brown here taken off at the 2-9. He'd be my first running back out of this group. The guy that I'm really interested in, I haven't gotten to really sit down and dig into yet, is Roshan Johnson, but I've heard very good things about him. Abanikanda and Spears are just burners. Spears especially, he's kind of an A-chain light. Kenny McIntosh, I haven't dug into much either, but just kind of a receiving back who's just kind of a guy. James Cook coming out of the same school last year was even better, and James Cook got overhyped. We'll see if it happens again with Kenny McIntosh. But at this point, Kenny McIntosh is pretty low on my board. I might even take some of these guys that we see come off later in the third over him.
Yeah, we have Hendon Hooker as the first quarterback outside of that top group, so QB5 off the board. I know Hendon Hooker coming into the year, you were really excited about with that, with what he was doing, and he proved you right. You were you were not wrong about Hendon Hooker thriving in that offense. Unfortunately for him, the torn ACL has bumped him. I think we've seen him going in the third and fourth round of NFL mocks. Maybe you want to take a dart on him in the third or fourth round of a rookie mock, or if you need quarterback depth or you want to take a dart. But for me, it felt a little early. But hey, if that's your guy, you want to take a shot, right?
It's super flex. He was my guy, so this one hurts. Like at one point, I had him up there with Stroud.
Yeah.
Stroud, Young, Levis, Richardson. Like I would have had him here at the 1-6 at one point throughout the season, whenever he was first coming on. And unfortunately, yeah, the ACL injury. It's hard with how I try to do my process of I don't like drafting guys kind of like Jameson Williams last year where they're coming off the injury and I don't project them to play a majority of the first season. Like I'm just drafting a dead asset and I would rather have somebody who can outperform what they're going to be on the bench, right? Like your value isn't going to change. It's only going to just slowly dwindle while other guys are outperforming, they're breaking out, they're having their stretch of games where they're going for 100 yards or in Hendon Hooker's case running for 50 yards and throwing for 300. Like that just can't happen while he's still recovering from an ACL. So I probably won't be drafting too much Hooker. I might just try to be trading him later in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and might be a good dart to take late if if he falls to the late third, fourth round. Maybe I'll take a shot. But there's some other names here I'd much rather have, like Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State, just big body receiver. Going to get to see him in the Senior Bowl and Senior Bowl practices this upcoming week, so I'm excited for him. Cedric Tillman, again out of Tennessee, he did fall. The injury hurt him, significantly here. We have our second tight end off the board, Dalton Kincaid, athletic, tight end out of Utah. This is about where he should be going. This is about where you're going to start taking the chances on these dart tight ends. I call them dart tight ends, but he's probably going to go in the second round. I've seen him mocked in the first by NFL guys. And if that's the case, third round, that seems like a value, but we'll see how, is he Greg Dulcich? Maybe
yeah. I mean, tight end, it's just so dependent, right? Like it's also going to depend highly on your premium that you're playing. Like if you're playing in a no premium league, I'm putting Kincaid back in the back of the third, early fourth, that type of range. Yep. If you're playing in a 2 tight end premium, or if you're playing in a start 2 tight end, I can see Kincaid at the early second. Like there's a drastic range of outcomes. So maybe we need to do a couple of these drafts where we have, just like some people ask for 1 QB drafts compared to super flex drafts. Maybe we need to do like a 1.5 tight end premium draft and a start 2 tight end draft. Or no premium draft. That way we can actually see where we would start to throw up these tight ends. But yeah, Kincaid, I've seen him mocked in the first as well. Just doesn't profile for me as well as Michael Mayer. After that, Raheem Jarrett, Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Reed, Dwayne McBride, and Parker Washington rounding out our third. Man, Deuce is the one that I want out of this one so badly to be something. You were the one who took him here in the third. Talk me into Deuce Vaughn. Talk me into one of the best college running backs that we've seen over the past 3 years. That's just unfortunately has some issues.
When you watch film and when you watch all of these running backs in college, like Deuce Vaughn pops. Like his agility, his high end speed may not be there, but his burst and his short space agility is just I don't think anyone in this class can touch him. He might be the best college running back in this class, but he's 5'6" and 175 pounds.
Maybe like 180.
Yeah, he might push 180, but and I'm sorry, 5'6", 180. That's just not going to last in the NFL. So what I would love to see it. I'd love to see him take on a Boston Scott role this late in the draft. I was just kind of looking at him. I'm like, you know what? If he lands and he can get himself an opportunity to be a Darren Sproles, be a pass catching back with New England, I don't know. Like I don't have a lot of hope for him. He's going to be a third round, fourth round rookie pick. We'll see what the NFL experts say. It seems like he might end up being a third round NFL draft pick. If that's the case, there's some hope, there's some belief, but in the end, size does matter.
Unfortunately, it does. It does. We just haven't seen a profile come out like this that's actually been a major contributor in the league and especially in fantasy. So nothing really going there. Dwayne McBride coming out of UAB. He's a guy that a lot of draft experts have said, they're giving him like top 5 grades in the running back position as just a pure runner. He is a 0 out of the receiving game. I think he only had like 10 targets and 5 catches in his entire collegiate career. So he's going to be a hammer at most, probably at the next level. Maybe they just didn't use him. Probably not. Wouldn't project him to be anything more than at most a Brian Robinson, and that's probably a high ceiling for Dwayne McBride where I have him.
B-Rob light, right? Like that's kind of B-Rob. That's not a running back at Alabama. That's the problem for McBride, is he's a UAB guy, like you mentioned. So we'll see. Again, landing spot will matter. Coaching system, those types of things will be important along with his draft capital. And then, as you mentioned, Parker Washington here. I'm going to pull up this 4th round as we look at a bunch of quarterbacks off the board.
Bunch of quarterbacks off the board here. We've got Jaron Hall. I believe Toon is actually a replacement guy. I believe that's a Cedric Tillman pick. No, Cedric Tillman is already on here. Tanner McKee is one of the actual picks, but I'm going to go find what that replacement pick is for Toon here while you go.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. I mean, we had the tight end run, again, Dalton Kincaid has been mocked in the 1st round of the NFL draft. He went off in the 3rd. And then we have Tucker Kraft. We finally get Darnell Washington, and then we get Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft, South Dakota State tight end. Seems like he's going to be a 2nd round guy. They've actually talked about 4 to 5 tight ends going in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. That's high praise. That's good for these tight ends. We'll see what that means for their actual productivity in fantasy, because those things don't necessarily correlate. But I like Tucker Kraft. Darnell Washington's going to be a tackle. He's going to be a tackle. I have zero interest in really drafting any Darnell Washington at all. Tucker Kraft can pass catch. Luke Musgrave, we kind of asked some questions about who Luke is, and that dude can run a freaking 4.5. Like, he's going to put up the RAS score and then the speed metrics to be something interesting. A la Jelani Woods. Like, a lot of people weren't really hyped on Jelani Woods until he blew out the combine. Everyone's like, who the heck is this guy? He could be a combine darling that people end up wanting to draft. Just to kind of round things out for the running back room, Eric Gray, Chris Rodriguez out of Kentucky, and then Evan Hull from Northwestern.
There's one more guy. Yeah, one more guy, that replacement pick for C-Tune, who I don't know who that is, but in the sleeper system, that is actually going to be Xavier Holiday.
Okay.
Or Xavier Valladay out of Arizona State, I believe, running back out of there. So I know Barry's looked at him a little bit here in the last couple of weeks, and a guy that he's gotten a little bit of like probably 5th, 6th round draft buzz, who might be a guy. So don't have any problem taking the shot on him here in the 4th. Other than that, I mean, we got the last pick of the draft, Tyler Scott, the burner out of Cincinnati. Interesting pick that we've seen come up here a couple times here in the last week or two. Whenever we did get this sleeper board come out, who we hadn't really profiled before, but I mean, you're looking for 4th round dart throws, might as well put it on a receiver who can absolutely burn and has been comped to a Tyreek Hill light.
Ooh, Tyreek Hill light. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the same things. He's a burner. He's going to be, if you can compare him to, I don't want to say Jalen Hyatt necessarily, but same concept, right? Like similar deep threat route running ability. Hey, if you're going to get him in the 4th and he's going to be your best ball dart, love it. Give me that guy. We'll see what draft capital he ends up getting. And those types of things obviously need to play out. But yeah, 4th round, pick your guy to see what the darlings are. This will change dramatically. This is January 25th as of recording. Like, this is going to change quite a bit throughout the process. We'll find out some more information next week at the Senior Bowl. Combine coming up. We're going to be doing mocks galore. So we will get to track how this changes throughout as well. Anything you want to add before we wrap out of here?
Let's see. The only thing that I want, Xavier Hutchinson, man. I think almost every one of these mocks that I've been in, I'm taking him in the 3rd. He has an absolutely fantastic collegiate profile. Like, he's put up 700, 1,000, and 1,000 yards in his 3 years, and he's done that with freaking Keaton Slovis this last year. So if you do that, I'm going to be high on you. I know there's been issues with kind of a little bit of his profile. I'll dig into him a little bit more on the film side of things, but just purely from a statistical standpoint, I think Xavier Hutchinson's going to be one of my guys.
Yeah, I do like him a lot. I like his size and the size and skill side of things. That's what I'm excited for the Senior Bowl. I want to see how he matches up against some of these other corners and having an actual quarterback throwing to him. That'll be fun. So
Exactly.
we'll kind of see how that works out for him. But yeah, man, I think that pretty much wraps things up here. Any last things you want to touch on before we go?
Nope. Just shout out once again to Dynasty Barry 83 in this mock, who is running all of these mocks for us over on the Destination Devy platform. If you want to get into these mocks with us, let us know down in the comments. Comment who you think is value picks, sleeper picks, anything you got like that, or any questions for us. Be happy to answer them. But yeah, once again, shout out to Barry and all of the team over there for letting us hop in these, use them, and run them. And gonna be happy to get into another one of these. Gonna get our information from the Senior Bowl, and we'll probably have a couple of guys slipping and falling, rising. We'll see what happens here over the next week. It's going to be fun.
Yep. If you want to jump in those drafts, you got to get over to patreon.com/allgas. Join that Destination Devy community, but also let us know. We can help you out and get you that information. Please like and subscribe. We need that for the algorithm. Thank you again for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.